Hi everyone, thank you for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and spread the word among your friends who might get help from the topics that I'm covering. Whenever I meet newcomers, there are two questions which comes up most. One, in every interview people are asking me for Canadian experience. How do I get Canadian experience if I cannot get a job? And the second one is the question of, do I have to start from scratch in this country? Won't my experience, the experience that I bring in, will be useful? Now I thought that in this whole pandemic, when the job market is in such a bad shape, these questions must be so much putting pressure on every newcomer. And I thought that let me bring a few points to make it easy for all of you. And all this, as I always mention, comes in from experience of meeting so many newcomers like you who have gone through all these stages. So let's try to break this problem. So we are talking about two situations. One, Canadian experience. One, do I have to start from scratch? To answer this, we have to go one step back and remember that we already decided that this decision of coming into Canada is a long-term one. It's for long-term goals. So let's plan the short-term, mid-term and long-term, and let's understand what is the short-term. The short-term is obviously to get a job. And then plan your mid-term and long-term in this country. So if that is the case, then the very first challenge that we had on the question that how do I get Canadian experience without getting a job, and the other point of do I start from scratch needs to be questioned. The question is, what do you really mean by starting from scratch? What does it mean? A lot of you talk about survival job. What does it mean? Because I've already challenged the concept of survival job as something that you should also thrive and learn. Now the question is, let's think about what are the top gaps that a newcomer has when you look at from a job opportunity point of view. And I think all of us agreed that there are 2 points out of the 3 which generally every job looks for: technical knowledge, soft skill, and the cultural nuances. If you're a generalist, most of the time the soft skill and the cultural nuances are the 2 areas where you would lack. And that's where the challenge happens. And which is the best way of getting those 2 things done? I think the best possible way to get that done is through a job. Volunteering can also help, but job really makes it more serious. It makes you responsible, it makes you accountable, and it also puts you into an environment where your learning can really be faster. So if you just keep your view on these 2 pieces, that you're trying to take care of these 2 pieces, then no job is a less job. The point that you might bring in is, if I do a job outside my industry and do a part-time job as a telecaller or in a Walmart or in a Loblaws, how will that affect? Now the good news in this country that it would always affect positively. Why? Because in this country soft skills are taken more seriously than the industry that you have performed at. If you're able to articulate that why you took that job and what that benefited you with and how it supports your mid-term, long-term goals, that's what hiring managers are going to look into, because they're going to look into someone who has the courage and understand himself or herself better and really planning for a mid-term and long-term view, which is very critical for your success. Now, the question is that what a norm is? Yes, 100%. This country, that's what the norm is. Undergrads and even high school students does 90 hours of volunteering hours in this country. Undergrad students does part-time or full-time work in terms of internship opportunities just to make sure that after 4 years or 5 years of their studies, when they come out, they already have an experience to show. And they really do not care which industry. It's about connecting the dots and showing where they want to go and how all these skill sets help. So that gets you a very positive environment. But what is important that you need to remember, that you need to keep your midterm and your long-term goals in place so that those doesn't get derailed. A very good story about someone that I know very well started as telecaller on a survey job, and the whole understanding was to understand the nuances about it, knowing her midterm approach of being a professor, a long-term one to be a professor, did that job for 6 months, collected the nuances, got into the network, and really did the courses and programs, and for last 10 years is a professor in this country. So classic example of that, if you keep your midterm, long-term view in place, these jobs can really help you to crack and get those 2 gaps really taken care of. The point that you need to make is, how do you make sure that you make 100% of those jobs? One, keep your learning doors and windows open. Learn it from every single angle, every single interaction. Number two, keep your networking up. Make sure you're talking to people, make sure you're mingling with people, you're understanding, and that's the best way of learning a culture. And third is, make sure that you are not keeping your midterm and long-term view at the shelf. You have to keep your midterm, long-term view in place. And once you do all this, maybe within the next 2 months, 3 months time, when you're interviewing for the job that you really wanted in the right industry, when the hiring manager looks at you and sees the experience that you have already put on the table, you would be the person who would be chosen out, the other one who would probably have a similar qualification, similar background from your home country, but would not have an experience in Canada. I hope you like the points. Thank you for watching my video. Please like, please comment, and have a nice day.